Um, okay, we're live.
Okay. Okay. So I thought maybe we'll talk about something in Yana Dioma. As we know, I think I used this introduction in I like to use this introduction in Elul Shiurim. The pasuk says in Amos, Aryeh Yishag Milo Yira. When the lion roars, who is not in awe? And the Mefarshim explained that Aryeh Yishag, Aryeh stands for Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim. Aryeh Yishag, when the lion roars, who is not in awe? And the mashal is given. Imagine, right? You just set us off, you're walking around Baltimore. So maybe you're not familiar with all the streets. Let's say you turn down one street and all of a sudden you see a lion walking down the street. You'll be like, whoa, what's going on here? I thought Baltimore was laid back and there's lions. You run away. You try to take a selfie as you run away, but you run away. And yet, a few weeks ago, I had this chus. I took the family and my granddaughter to the safari in Ramat Gan. And the first place you want to go is the lions. You know, that makes it a significant zoo. You run there, you watch them. So what's the difference? In the first case, you're running away from the lions. And in the second case, you want to go see them. You stare at them, you take pictures. And the answer is, if the lion's over there and I'm over here, and there's a moat and there's a fence in between, so then there's nothing scary. That's over there and I'm over here. But if there's no hefsek, if it's just me and the lion, we're right in that's intense. And that's the roar of the lion. Our job over this time of year is to break down the fences between us and the Aryeh, the lion, Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim. We have to break down the fences. Just have to be us and the lion. That's all. Just close by and intense. And that's our avoda. We're at stop one. The train stays at this stop for a while, right? Elul. We got a whole month, right? But we can't. We're already in second half, right? We just started a few days ago, the second half, and we have to use it. We have to jump on and make sure that we get the most out of these days and have that intense experience as much as we can. So I thought today for the shir, we'll talk about a minhag of Klal Yisrael that goes back at least a couple hundred years, and that is the minhag to say LaDavid Hashem Ori during Elul. Sapir Cohen, who was one of the freed hostages, she had an ominous feeling that something terrible was going to happen a couple of years ago. She didn't know what it was, and she thought it was going to be a health issue. She went to the doctor. She had all these different checkups, and nothing. It was all clear. And she didn't know what to do because she still had this feeling. So she saw online, she was not an observant Jew of Torah and mitzvahs, but she saw online that saying Psalm 27, Tehillim Chav Zayin every day could bring salvations. So she's like, okay, I'll do that. She did it for a month, and the 30th day was October 7th. And she was taken hostage, and she said that what got her through was saying LaDavid Hashem Ori. She said at the beginning, she was saying, Ki besuko milchama bezosani boteach. She's like, what kind of mizmor, what kind of parak is this? But she realized, obviously, that God was playing a role behind the scenes, and she understood why she was saying this parak throughout that month. Gave her strength. So what exactly is the message of this mizmor? You know, we say during Elul. Elul, as we know, has many Rashi Tevos, so we'll talk about some. Many acronyms. Anilu Dodi V'Dodi Li, which Bezram will get to. Ish L'Re'eo Matanos Lavyonim. But what does the word Elul mean? What does it mean? The word Elul, besides the Rashi Tevos and the Ramazim. So a number of commentaries say, look in the Unkelis in the beginning of Parsha Shlach, where the Unkelis says, what does Moshe say? And Hashem, Shlach L'cha Anashim V'Yasuru as Eretz Canaan. Send men V'Yasuru and spy out the land of Canaan. Unkelis on V'Yasuru, you can look it up, V'Ya'alalun. Elul. Elul is a lashon of spying out, of searching, of uncovering. That's our job. This month we have to be spies. We have to be searching out. Spies of who? Who are we spying on? We're spying on ourselves. We're spying internally. Where in my life can I make a difference? Where in my life can I take it to the next level? even if I'm doing great things, but we can all bring it up a notch. We can all live on a little bit higher level in all the areas of our life. So let's see how LeDavid could help us spy on ourselves. And again, it's a minhag of Klal Yisrael. We're going to give 4 ideas based on 4 different psukim in LeDavid. So maybe we could try to say by Shachris, I could try to focus on these 2 psukim. Might be hard to have kavanah the whole parak. But maybe by Shachris, I could focus on the first 2 psukim, and by Ma'ariv, I could focus on the next 2 psukim. Or maybe if I go to a shul that davens mincha and Ma'ariv, and they both say LeDavid by both, you can split it up. But in any case, let's get right into it. Okay, so one of the more well-known, number one, one of the more well-known ideas of why we say LeDavid is because of the medrash on the first pasuk. Look in source number 1 now. Those of you who have the sheets, not I'm sure they're posted. Rabbanan Patrin Kra b'Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim. Ori b'Rosh Hashanah v'Yish'i b'Yom Kippurim. The first pasuk is a remez. Ori, the light, that's Rosh Hashanah. Yishi, my salvation, that's Yom Kippur. And then later on, Ki Yispideni B'Suko, that's Sukkot. What does it mean that Rosh Hashanah is our light? And obviously, we're thinking about it now in Elul, getting ready for that Rosh Hashanah. What's the light? How is Rosh Hashanah a light? Ori is at Rosh Hashanah. So the question is, what exactly is the teshuva of Rosh Hashanah? Well, this Motzi Shabbos will be starting Slichas, and we're doing our Sham news, and eventually Al Chet. That's teshuva, vidui, and confession. Rosh Hashanah, if you remember the davening on Rosh Hashanah, we don't mention any vidui. There's no Hasham news. There's no Al Chetz. There's even a machlokes in the poskim. Should you skip the first line of Avinu Malkeinu? Chatanu l'fanecha. No, don't focus on Chet. What's the issue? What's the teshuva? Isn't teshuva all about vidui? There's a minhag that some have. The Rambam, probably not by accident, had wrote Hilchos teshuva with 10 prakim. So some of the minhag of learning 1 parak a day in Aseret Yimei Teshuva. The problem is we don't always realize Aseret Yimei Teshuva until we wake up after Rosh Hashanah, Tzom Gedalia morning, or oh, okay, I want to start. It's already day 3. I'm already 2 prakim behind. Right? So Rosh Hashanah, the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are the first 2 days of Aseret Yimei Teshuva. What's the teshuva of Rosh Hashanah? There's no Hasham news. There's no vidu. Another question. There is a Gemara in Kiddushin, source number 2, that's much discussed at this time of year. Almanah shani tzadik. Somebody goes over to a woman. We know a man could make any condition that he wants in marriage. He gives her a ring. Harayam mukudesh li b'tabazu. Kedas Moshe v'Yisrael. Almanas shani tzadik. Almanas that it rains tomorrow. Almanas this. Almanas that I'm a tzaddik. So what would you think that? How much do you have to learn? How much of a tzaddik do you have to be for that tonight to be fulfilled? Says the Gemara, afilu rasha gomur mikudeshes. Even if he's never kept a Shabbos or ate a piece of kosher meat in his life, mikudeshes mazel tov. Shema hira tshuva b'dait. Maybe he had an epiphany. Maybe he had a moment that he thought about tshuva. And the question is, he said, I'm an Ashani tzaddik. What do you mean he had an epiphany and he thought for a moment? That's not tzaddik. What's the Gemara mean? Mukudeshes. He shouldn't be mukudeshes until he does something. He didn't do anything here. He might have thought something. How does that change anything? Similar question is asked on the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. I'm sure many remember the story. Rabbi Chanina ben Shradio, Daf Yud Ches. He lives on Chai, Daf Yud Ches in Avodah Zarah, but his body isn't. So remember, he was teaching Torah in public, and the Romans caught him and they wrapped him in the Torah scroll and they put wet wool inside so he would burn slower. They lit him on fire, and his daughter says, I can't believe I see you like this. And he says, don't worry. If it was only me burning, I'd be worried, but the Torah is burning too. So whoever stands up for the honor of the Torah will stand up for my honor too. And then his students say on line 5, Amrulo Talmida, they must have saw that he was looking in a way towards heaven, and he says, Rebbe, Mata Roeh. The students say, Rebbe, what do you see? Amar Lahen, he says, Gilyo Nisrafin Va'osios Parchos. I see only the cloth is burning. The letters are flying off the cloth. Meaning, they're not burning they think they're destroying the Torah. No, they're destroying physical parchment. The letters are eternal. The letters are flying up. Afatos, the students say, open your mouth. Let the fire go in so you burn a little faster. What does Rabbi Chaim Meshanian say? No, no, no. The one who gave me my neshama will take my neshama when he's ready. I'm not going to do anything quicker. And all of a sudden, Omer lo kalsa tinori, the executioner, sees all of these conversations, the daughter and the students, and he is awed. He has never seen anything like this. Someone who's basically living in an existence that is angelic and heavenly. Rebbe, so the executioner says, if I make the fire bigger, if I take the wool off your heart, will I go to Olam Haba? Omar Lo, Rabbi Chidi Metrani says, yes, swear to me, I swear to you. Miyad, what did he do? He made the fire bigger. He took off the wet walls, he burned faster. All like that. Rabbi Chidi Metradion's soul leaves him. And Afu Kafatz, the executioner, jumped into the fire right afterwards and was died with Rabbi Chidi Metradion. And all of a sudden, the Baskel goes out from Shemayim and says, Rabbi Chidi Metradion, the Kalsa Tinori, Mizumanim Ein L'chai Olam Haba. Rabbi Chidi Metradion and the executioner are going to Olam Haba. Wow. Question. What does this executioner do? He probably killed thousands of Jews in his life, tens of thousands. He did one thing. He made Rabbi Chidi Metradion die faster. That's a one-way ticket to Olam Haba. He didn't do anything yet. So what did the guy in the first Gemara do? Amanashani Tzadik. What did Rabbi Chidi Metradion do? Explains Rav Soloveitchik in 4, source number 4, and others. The first step in any teshuva process is the decision. The decision to change direction. You know what the teshuva, the first step is? To put into ways where you want to go. You're still sitting in the car in your driveway. But when you put into ways your destination, you've already started your journey. You're already there. You're already looking at the road. You're looking at that purple line. Okay, where's the... You're already on the road. That's the first step. And that's already significant. Amanachani Tzaddik, if maybe he decided to change his life. Maybe he decided to keep kosher. Maybe Rabbi Chidi Metradion, the executioner, he didn't do anything yet, but he decided. That decision has tremendous significance. That's the first step of teshuva. That's teshuva of Rosh Hashanah. Teshuva of Rosh Hashanah is not about focusing on specific individual actions. I need to be better in A, B, and C. No. It's about a direction. It's about, what do we talk about on Rosh Hashanah? There's basically one theme of the whole day, and that's Malchios. Hashem is the king. That's my direction. That's where I'm heading. Hashem is the king. Rosh Hashanah is about just getting on that track. Don't focus on I have to be better at benching and have to be nicer to this person. And no. It's just about that direction. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? What's my 5-year plan in what I want to look like in 5 years? What do I want my family to look like in 5 years? That's Rosh Hashanah. It's about recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in my life. Right? There's a, I gave it to you. Right? There is a, on Rosh Hashanah, remember the Musaf, we say, Hayom Haras Olam. What's Haras? What does Herayon mean? Right? Usually we translate that, if you look in the art school, I think it's the birthday of the world. Right? It's the day that Adam Arisha was created. But Haras, Herayon, doesn't mean birthday. But it means pregnancy. Haras. So the pregnancy of the world, what does that mean? So look in Tosfos. There's a Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah Daf Chav Zayin. The Gemara there quotes a Machlokas Tanoim. Which is the first month of the year? Which is the first month? Tishrei or Nisan? Right, we're going to start Tafshin Pei Vav in a few weeks in Tishrei. But if you ask the average child who knows the months by heart, they'll probably start with, what are the months? Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Nisan. So which is it? Says Rabbeinu Tam. They're both right. Elu ve'elu divri Elokim Chayim. Hashem Kaviyachol decided to create the world in Tishrei, but he actually created the world in Nisan. The decision was on Rosh Hashanah. That's exactly what Rosh Hashanah is about. Hashem made a decision Kaviyachol. So that's Rosh Hashanah is our day to make decisions, to say which direction is my life going to go in. It's the light bulb that goes on to inspire us. That's the teshuva of Rosh Hashanah. And that's why Ori Zer Rosh Hashanah. Ori v'yishi, Ori Zer Rosh Hashanah. Remember you probably have saw the video of Agam Berger when she was let out and she was on the helicopter. She wrote something. You couldn't have sound, but she wrote on this whiteboard to the world, B'derech emunah bacharti, u'b'derech emunah shavti. Right, what I chose, my decision. That's the first message of LeDavid, the first pasuk. Ori Zer Rosh Hashanah. It's a time, it's a month to get ready for that day that we're going to have to make decisions. That we're going to try to focus on what's the important things, what are the esodos of my life, and how do I want to make my life, part of that pyramid with that goal. Number one. Okay, everybody with me? Number two. Second idea in LeDavid. So we know Elul has a lot of many remuzim of Rashi Tevas, but there is one in LeDavid itself. If you look, the Balaturim, nobody less than the Tur himself, quotes this. If you look in source number 8 and 9, the source number 8 is the pasuk Umal Hashem al Kecha. It's from next week's parsha Nitzavim. Hashem will circumcise your heart. Umal Hashem al Kecha es lavavcha ve'es lav zarecha. So you see in that pasuk es lavavcha ve'es lavav. That's a Rashi Tevas of Elul. That we have to teshuva in Elul. That's a remez. But on that pasuk, the Balaturim says there's another remez to Elul. And that is one of the more well-known psukim in LeDavid. Right? It's a song. Lulei ha'amanti leros b'tuv Hashem. Were it not that I believed, lulei backwards is Elul. Lulei. Lulei ha'amanti leros b'tuv Hashem. That's the Balaturim points that out in 9. What's the message of that lulei? Lulei ha'emanti leros b'tuv Hashem. If you look in the Yerach Lamoadim, it's one of Rabbi Olshin's Svarim, in source number 10, he says, keep reading the pasuk, and that gives you the secret of Elul. Lulei ha'emanti leros b'tuv Hashem. To see the goodness of Hashem. The first step of teshuva, one of the first steps is to recognize the brachas that we have. If I think I have nothing, if I think I have, Hashem hasn't given me anything, then I don't want to, I'm not motivated to do better. I'm not motivated to thank. If I recognize how much I have and what Hashem gives me and the simcha that I have in that way, then I'm just overflowing. Hashem, I want to be close to you. Hashem, you're awesome. Hashem, you're lulei amanti, leros b'tuv Hashem. Elul is about counting our blessings. In the Reich Lamoadim, source 10. To recognize the great goodness. The yisod of the avodah of Elul is chazek b'akaras hatov l'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. To be mischazek. Nobody has a perfect life, but we all have some brachos. I've met over the last couple of weeks, again, as a rabbi, you get to know people's sorrows that not everybody else in the shul knows. Most people don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but sometimes as the rabbi, people share things. Right? We have to recognize, though, that even with all the challenges, leros b'tuv Hashem, right? The Gemara in Brachas Daf Lamed, where the Gemara tells us the Birchas HaShachar, the source for Birchas HaShachar. We ever think about these brachas in the morning? Right? We used to say these when we did these activities, so maybe it was more meaningful, but we don't know it by heart. We wouldn't say it, so now we say it in shul. When you open up your eyes, the Gemara says, Pokeach ivre. What a gift. The gift, the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to get dressed, malbish arumim. Right? Food. Hashem gives us, sha'asali called sarki, shoes, food. Rav Pinkus writes in one of his svarim, sometimes we'll go into the pantry. This ever happened? I don't think this has ever happened in anybody else's house. No child ever did this. Opening up the fridge or the pantry, there's nothing to eat here. I have nothing. I don't know what I'm going to have. Hello, you could have A, B, C, or D. No, I don't want any of those. There's nothing to eat. Right? There hasn't been a more affluent society in the history of the Jewish people. Right? We have so much, we just don't know what to do with ourselves. You should start saying Hallel every time you open up the pantry, says Rav Pinkus. right? It's just that it's something called leftovers. It's nosar. I'm very makpid about the halachas of nosar. You know, you have to burn nosar, zeichel churban, right? But we have to recognize the brachas that we have, the focus on what we have. There's a very poignant, and if I have it here, if you remember a few months ago in May, there was a terrorist attack. A woman, remember, a couple was on their way to have their fourth child. They were gunned down. Se'ela Gaz, her husband Hananel, that night or the next day, put out a tweet or a WhatsApp. Hi, friends, a sad day today. Last night, my wife was murdered. We were on our way to the hospital to happily deliver our fourth baby boy. Obviously, I am very broken, naturally, but also thankful to Hashem that I survived and will be strong to carry on and be a light unto the entire world, because we'll never let them break us. I am very sad, but I continue to fight for our people's well-being. I love you all. We will survive and we will thrive and prosper. Hashem is one, good and bad times. It doesn't matter. If it's from my one and only King, I accept it with love. Call me crazy. Aren't we all? Hanana was able to liros betuv Hashem in the most difficult of times. Right? We need to do that in every situation in life, to try to see the good, the positive, the cup that's half full. Included in these brachas is the ability and the opportunity to do teshuva and come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem wants us to turn over a new leaf, no matter what stage and age we're at. Rav Soloveitchik discusses in source number 12. You know, sometimes in life we want to turn back the clock. We wish we could go back 30 seconds. Right? Ever happened that somebody, you say something and like, oh, I really wish I did not say that. I did not mean for that to come out that way. You know, you hope, you send a WhatsApp and you really hope that the person didn't see it yet so you could like delete for all. But then you like look and see that the guy doesn't have the blue check. So you don't really know if they saw it yet or not, and you just hope. So, but we wish we could turn back the clock sometimes. Rav Soloveitchik says, but it's impossible. Except in the world of Ruchnius. Hashem created teshuva. Teshuva is one of the 7 things created before the world was created. Teshuva could turn back the clock. It could wipe out the past. It could give us a new perspective. Hashem can say, it didn't happen. It's something that we can't fathom. But that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us, right? We can't even fathom teshuva. Right? Menashe HaMelech, at the end of his life, did a half-baked teshuva. The story, the Yerushalmi tells the story that at the end of his life, Menashe, one of the worst kings, he killed his own grandfather, Yeshayahu Hanavi. He was literally in hot water, in a boiling pot. And he says, you know what? He calls out to all the gods of the world. And he goes back down his Rolodex, if you know what that means. In the olden days, we had a Rolodex with actual numbers on it. So every Avodah Zarah in his Rolodex. And finally, he says, you know what? Nothing's working. I might as well call out to Hashem. If it works, great. And if not, you know, he's just like all the other ones. That's teshuva. And the Yerushalmi has a beautiful lashon. He says, the malachim, the angels upstairs, closed the windows in heaven because they didn't want the teshuva to be accepted. And Hashem took out a divine drill, drilled a hole under the Kisei HaKavod, and pulled the tefillah of Menashe in. Even the Malachim couldn't understand the gift of teshuva, but we have to recognize, if we say, I want to do better, if we say, I want to have more kavanah in davening, I want to be more makpid about being nice to people and Avas Yisrael, we could do it. And Hashem says you can start a new leaf. Liros betuv Hashem, number 2. So if you think about each of these, I want to put one word on each of these ideas. Number 1, it was direction or decision. Number 2, recognition, recognize the good. Number 3 out of 4, third idea out of 4. The most famous pasuk in LeDavid is Acha Sha'alti Meis Hashem. No, one thing I ask of Hashem. What exactly is the message of Achas Sha'alti Meis Hashem? Kol Yemei Chayai. One thing. Explains the Panim Yafos, the Rebbe of the Chassam Sofer, source number 13. It says the Gemara in the beginning of Tainus tells us that if there's a famine and a plague, which should you daven for? Gemara says, how about both? Gemara says, no, you can't. You can't daven for 2 things. Got to pick one. You need to have one focus. Ask the Panim Yafas, one focus. On Rosh Hashanah, we daven for everything. We daven for health. We daven for our family. We daven for parnasa. We daven for shalom. We daven for everything. So, well, aren't we violating that Gemara? We're davening for 10 different things. Says the Panim Yafas, no. We spend a month before Rosh Hashanah saying, really, everything we're davening for is one thing. We have one request. All of those things that we're davening for is in the context of that one request. Achas sha'alti meis Hashem. Hashem, I want to be close to you. I just want to be your Eved. If with nachas and with health and with parnasa, all of that could help me be your Eved. But that's it. Achas sha'alti meis Hashem. Osa avakesh. And there's a Achron, the Kamoti Shalarav puts together, he says, you see the Lashon was switched in the Pasuk? Achas sha'alti meis Hashem, osa avakesh. She'ela and bakasha. What's the difference between those two, she'ela and bakasha? Why the switch? See, he quotes another pasuk in the Megillah. Remember, Esther Hamalka, Es Achashverosh, nafshi b'she'elasi, v'yami b'vakashasi. Also, she'ela and bakasha. What's the change? See, he quotes from his father here in the Sefer, or someone, it quotes from a Rav, God who. He says, she'ela is a request. I'm asking you for a loan. If you give me, great. If not, I'll survive. Bakasha means I'm not going to stop asking until you give me an answer that I need. Because I need this. Not just I would like it. That's bakasha. Esther Amalka says, nafshi b'she'elasi. You want to save me? I'm going to, hopefully, you'll save me even though you know what nation I am. But v'yami, my nation, b'vakashasi. I'm not taking no for an answer. The Jewish people are going to survive. Esther says, Ami b'vakashasi. And that's what we have here. Achas sha'alti meis Hashem. We're asking something from Hashem, but you know what? Osa avakesh. I need it. I need to be connected to you, Hashem. And everything I'm going to ask for on Rosh Hashanah is in that context. Because life is about being an Eved Hashem. My father always liked to quote the story. I think of the Sfas Emes that one time he told the Hasidim, he says, before Hallel on a Yontif morning, Rabbosai, have kavana when you say Ana Hashem. Have a lot of kavana. So it was a whole machlokas. What did the Rebbe mean? Which Ana Hashem? Ana Hashem Oshiana or Ana Hashem Aslichana? So it was a whole machlokas. And afterwards they asked him and they said, Rebbe, which one did you mean? And he said, neither. You're both wrong. Ana Hashem ki ani avdech. That's Ana Hashem. Life is about being an Eved Hashem. We can't get lost sometimes in the trees. We need to see the forest. We do so many mitzvahs, but we have to remember the mitzvah. Remember the commander of it all. We have to make sure that we could do mitzvahs in that vein and recognize that, we have to see all of our life in the context of an Eved Hashem, but keeping it exciting without it getting stale. That's the other part they say on Shifti B'Veis Hashem. Shifti B'Veis Hashem, I want to sit in the house of God. Yeshiva is a lashon of keva. What does it say at the end of the pasuk? Ulevaker b'heifalo. But I want to visit. So many explain, I want to be there all the time, but I want it to feel like a visit. I want to keep the excitement of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every moment of it should feel new, like Rashi says twice in this week's parsha. Hayom, it should feel new, like a new thing that we've gotten. Always to be excited about our avodas Hashem. Did I mention in the past the story? They say Rabbi Rosner was once saying brachas, and the Talmidim was saying amen to his brachas, and he skipped the bracha, they thought. And they listened the next day, and he skipped the bracha. And they say, Rebbe, you skipped one. And he says, what are you talking about? He said, you didn't say Shalom Asani Goy. And he starts laughing. And they say, Rebbe, what? He says, you think I'm going to wait to get to shul to say Shalom Asani Goy? He says, I wake up in the morning. I am so excited for another day of Avodas Hashem. I can't stop myself. I need to say it right away. Because the Achas Sha'alti, he's excited about it. That's message number 3. Message number 3, focus. The focus of our life is Avodas Hashem. That's one request that we have. Hashem, I want to be a good Eved. And all the other things are to help me be your Eved. So we have number 1, direction or decision. Number 2, recognition of all the goodness. Number 3, focus. Fourth and final idea. Fourth and final idea of L'David is all the way at the end of L'David. We say, Ki avi ve'imi azavuni v'Hashem yasveini. My parents have left me, and Hashem gathers me in. What's that referring to? that my parents have left me, and Hashem gathers me in. So there is a fascinating Rashi on that pasuk. Avi Miyazabuni, you know what that means? When in the creation of a child, parents are involved for a couple of minutes. And after that, yes, the mother's involved for the next 9 months, but really it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu actively being involved. So my parents were involved, but now it's Hashem Yasfei. Hashem's involved. That's Rashi. Beautiful idea. But if you look in the Radak, or the Ibn Ezra, source number 20, the Ibn Ezra says, this is just talking about life, right? The regular derech ha'olam is that parents, get older and they pass on before the child does. So this is a recognition, David HaMelech says, of, I know even if my parents go, I know Hashem, you'll be with me. Hashem, I know whatever has happened this year, whether it's Avi Ve'imi, whether it's any tzara, Hashem, I know, Hashem, that you're close to me. This pasuk reflects the bitachon. There was a beautiful thought that I remember what somebody told me last summer. I spoke at my father's shloshim, and somebody came over to me with this vart afterwards. So if you look in the pasuk in Chayesora, where it says, after Avram died in source 21, Vayachrei Mos Avram, Vayevarech Elokim es Yitzchak beno. After Avram died, Hashem gives a bracha to Yitzchak, his son. So Pashut Pshat means Avram's son. But this person told me, he said, no, read it a little differently. By this time now, Yitzchak lost both the parents, right? Avram died, Sarah had died already. After Avram died, Vayevarech Elokim es Yitzchak beno, Hashem's son. After the parents died, Hashem says, Yitzchak, I know you lost both your parents, but you know what? I'm still here. I will always be here with you. Ki avi v'imi yazavuni v'Hashem yasfeini. Elul is about it, recognizing and remembering, no matter how forlorn or distant we feel, Hashem yasfeini, right? This is the ani l'dodi v'dodi li thing, right? Even in challenging moments, Klal Yisrael, we are living in both miraculous and challenging times at the same time. We have to be Lula Eros B'Tov Hashem, but recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us through thick and thin, right? He'll never let us go. And trust is this word. So if you think about the 4 themes that we spoke about in LaDavid, that we have to think about at this time of year to allow ourselves to be intensely connected to the lion, the Aryeh. Direction or decision, that's Rosh Hashanah, that's the Or. Number 2, it's the recognition of all the goodness. Number 3, focus. My life is really one focus of Acha Sha'alti. Number 4, trust. Just to end with a beautiful medrash. The medrash says that one time Cain was walking down the street and he bumped into his father Adam. And Cain says to Adam, hey, Dad, guess what? I did teshuva. And Adam's like, what? I never heard of that. How'd you do teshuva? And the Mefarshim wonder, how did Cain know about teshuva and Adam didn't? What did Cain know that Adam didn't know? And an answer is given is Cain had one thing that Adam didn't have. Cain had a father. Teshuva is about coming back to our father. Teshuva is about connecting. Our father's waiting there with open arms. Cain had a father. That's what this month's about. Anilu dodi v'dodi li. We should be zocha to be able to come back in all 4 ways, to have that recognition. Let Hashem be zocha to a sweet year, a year of redemption, a year of goodness, of peace, of connection, and a year that we all celebrate together in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, B'mehera V'yamin.
Rabbi, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Wonderful to see everybody.
Thank you.
Asaf, you stopped walking. Good to see you. One place. Everybody should have a wonderful, amazing time. But B'ez Hashem, we'll try to meet each other again in Tishrei.
By the way, Rabbi, did everybody give you a mazel tov?
On what?
Mazel tov. Yeah. We had a grandson this week. Yeah, the baby's right next door right now in my house, right next door. But B'ez Hashem, Shalom Zachar, for his son.